Kylie, what are we talking about today?
Alrighty, so what are the pros for going into business with your partner?
The pros.
The best part about being in business with my wife is also the worst part of being in business with my wife.
Probably.
It's funny. And you guys will probably hear this story in a different episode where we'll talk about how we met and all this good stuff. But the same things that attracted me to my wife and to you, obviously, are also the biggest pain points when I have to work with you.
Oh my gosh, go on.
No, nothing. So you are independent and you know what you want. You are, strong woman, and that's great. And then dealing with you sometimes on like a business side, it's like, okay, oh my God. All of those things are fantastic and they're wonderful. I just don't always get what I'm looking for or need right in that moment because you're just like, boom, I'm going to hit you head on, and we are going to go at this until you get what you want.
Yes,
usually.
But I do think that there's something to be said that if you're coming to a conversation and you're expecting something out of it, let's give for instance.
Okay.
Terrible tendency of mine, and I think something that a lot of people grapple with, whether they do it or somebody in their life does it, is try to solve a problem for somebody.
Correct.
Just because that person came to the table with a vent. Right? Like you wanted to share something
I'm the worst at this.
Crappy that happened, and I'll be like, so, and who cares? Forget their opinion. Do this instead. And I will start like projecting a lot of things so that I can like move on to the next situation. And that's not at all what was. So how often does that happen to you? Do you feel like versus like, listen, let me just vent for a second? Because I do think setting expectations.
It's very
could be
rare
helpful.
that I open the conversation with, let me just vent. I still haven't learned that in 6 years.
I know. I wish you would.
That I have to open the conversation with, I'm just going to vent about this.
Yeah.
Don't need input.
Yeah.
Just listen. Just need someone to listen to my venting. Yeah, I still haven't learned. That's on me. That's my fault.
But also on me is that it's like a 2% of the time that you're bringing a situation like that to me that you actually want me to solve the problem. So I really need to know the entry point is probably at a certain level.
There are times where I'm like expecting something in return or like a response in return, but I don't usually get that. And it's fine. But I think if we should just kind of like go and answer that specific question of the best parts. Like I said, the best parts are also the worst parts in some regards, but also the fact that there's shared goals, right? Someone who truly has this very similar end game, common goal, right? The name of this podcast. And that's one of the most important things. It's very rare that you're going to find, even if you're doing business with a partner that's not your also life partner, they're not going to have the same life goals, right? Now, yes, you do have different goals for yourself that are still independent of us as a couple, but for the most part, like 95% of what we're looking to do with our businesses and our lives follow a similar path, right? And that's just by nature of our relationship, and I'm sure there's others out there that have, similar situations where they want to go. You want to go to the same place with your partner. You want to live in the same area. You want to travel. You want to have this similar hobbies. I'm not saying everything has to happen, but having all of that and understanding, like, we want this type of free time. Yeah. We want this type of business that brings in this type of income that allows us to do X, Y, and Z. Like, that's really important. And so to have that with your partner, to me, is the best part about being able to work with you. Now, of course, there's personal things as to why I choose you as a partner. Go ahead.
In life.
And business.
Correct. But I don't think you chose me as a business partner when you chose me as a life partner.
I did not. No,
it just so
correct.
happened to be like kind of happening at the same time. I mean, I agree with that. I think businesses are going to have certain goals, and then the leaders of those businesses have life goals, and that's where we come together, is on those things. I agree. I think one of the biggest pros for us is that we're on the same wavelength, I think, when we're trying to personally develop. So we care about the same like health issues. We care about the same work-life balance issues. We might approach them tactfully in a very different way, but we still care about them the same. To the point where yesterday I randomly had, 2 meetings end early, and what I thought was going to be a super overwhelming day wasn't as bad as I thought. And I got through it, and I went to check in on you, and I was like, how's your day going so far? And you were like, it's okay. I'm almost done. I need to send a couple things. And I was like, well, it's really nice out. Do you want to go play tennis? And this is something I've had on my list of things to do for 2021 is when it's nice outside, go learn how to play tennis with my husband at the park. And we finally got to do it yesterday. So there was like moments like that where even though he's like driving me crazy while we play tennis also, because he's telling me what to do the entire time, and I was terrible, so I probably needed to be told what to do.
I have to say nothing. Say nothing.
It was so fun just being able to go and be like, oh my gosh, it's like 4:00. Look, there's nobody playing tennis. We're like walking the dog. We're like, let's take her home and give it a go. And it was great. And it's stuff like that not very often, especially if you have a partner who's working full time in your life, or if you have a business partner who's, handling very different tasks than you, and you're maybe not always time synced together or home-based working together, which we were yesterday. There's going to be different benefits for different reasons. I think I'm speaking mostly to those who are couples in business. Yeah. I mean, those are the fun times.
We can't speak to anything else.
Right.
I'll say that also all of my downfalls, or all of the pieces that are missing from my personality or missing from my leadership style, you can pick up that slack. But more than just as a business partner, you also understand more intimately how I operate and work, so that allows you to kind of fill certain gaps that even more so like somebody else could not, that was just my business partner and maybe friend, or business partner and just a business partner,
or an employee that's like trying to figure out the dynamic too.
So like that is it's an advantage, right? It's a plus one. It's exponential. It's a multiplier is the word I was looking for. Like it truly is a multiplier in business. So not only do we have the advantage of working from home, and all together, not working from home, but like working on our own schedules and doing that, having, each of us having our own thing and our lives working in that ecosystem, but also the fact that, hey, I can turn to you and I'm like, I can't solve this. And again, you understand me innately better than someone else ever could.
Yeah.
So you helping me there is a multiplier in the sense, like, for example, I'll want to fire off an email, or I want to fire something back, and I'll come to you and you'll say, I know exactly how you mean this when you're saying it, so you need to either tone it down, or you need to rephrase, or I need you to maybe get on a call.
Yeah.
Whereas other people may not fully understand that because they're getting a different me, or a different perceived me, because they're not seeing me all the time. They're not dealing with me every day. That alone has probably saved us a lot of, I don't want to say lost opportunities, but a lot of opportunities that could have been like, maybe those relationships could have changed because I do think that's important to mention, because we don't have to be the same personality type to work well together, which is good news, because we're not. And secondly, because there may be moments where it's like, okay, you take the lead with this person, you guys align a little bit more in personality, whether we're trying to convert a sale or just network in general. This is probably somebody Amy should talk to versus like Vin, spend more time nurturing that. That's really great for splitting duties, in my opinion. The other thing I think that's really special, particularly for couples in business together, I know this is very specific. I tend to gravitate toward giving that advice because I don't know what it's like to have a business partner who's not my husband. But there's so many moments where you just need a cheerleader. And
I don't think there's going to be very many people in the world who are not only going to figure out how to work well with you in a business, but be in a soft place in your life to be able to go, like just, take it down a notch, breathe. Let's talk about this together. Let's talk about the bright side if it's something bad that happened or whatever. And just be able to talk about it from a long game standpoint. Because for us, it's not the long game of our business, it's the long game of our lives and putting things in perspective together. Yep. And if one of us is upset about something or one of us is overly happy about it, that's a real opportunity for one of us to step up and either enjoy that with them at its heart or be annoyed about it at the center of it, but still talk productively about how to move on from there. So I do think that that's a huge pro, because being an entrepreneur is extremely lonely. And there's still times where I'm lonely in it because things feel different and feel hard and feel complicated, and everyone thinks their problems are different. They're not. We all have the same problems. They just have different details attached to them. So that's what's really nice about it is, being able to vent, being able to be petty for a second. We know we're going to bounce back from a conversation that we have with each other, even if we're petty with each other. We just do, because we see the long game. We always do. It's actually quite fascinating. And it's something that I really, really value, because for a long time, I didn't have somebody by my side while I was building my business initially. And, it probably was okay at the time because I was like, that's okay. Nobody believes in me. I'm just going to chug along here. But it long term makes you think that nobody's willing to help you if you are constantly thinking that way. And I know that has been a deterrent in our relationship because of that issue that kind of is just like embedded in my brain.
Yeah, it's also easy to take for granted. Like, it's very simple, or it's very easy to take those simple things for granted. The cheerleader part or the vent part. There are times when maybe there's too much venting, or there's like not enough cheerleading, or you think you're cheerleading, but it's not in the way that your partner wants it. And like, I don't know, we've done that countless times where it's like, hey, I don't need you to tweet about me. I need you to actually love me, or I need you to, give me that love this way, or, hey, you're venting too much. It's getting negative, or, you never vent to me. I don't know what you're really feeling. I mean, so there's all sorts of stuff that you can kind of take for granted, and that it just gets. So like I said, right at the beginning, I'll just go back to that. The good things about working with your partner can also be bad things, and vice versa. The bad things can be the good things depending on how you approach them. And like with anything else, too much of a good thing is not necessarily good, beneficial. Everything has to be in moderation. So just because venting is good for me doesn't mean it's good for you to listen to all the time. Yeah. Just because I'm cheerleading in a way that I think is good doesn't mean and I could do it in an abundance, right? Doesn't mean it's not being received or registering as that. So I'm taking those two things for example, because I know that those are specifics for myself.
Yeah, and my constant need to problem solve anything that you put on the table that sounds crappy is like just not welcome. And everyone knows that feeling. Everyone knows when they want to vent and they just want to be heard. And that's truly like, that's at the heart of everything. Everyone just wants to be heard. Even if someone's upset with you, even if someone starts a fight randomly, even if somebody leaves you a nasty comment in your posts or something like that, you could have played a role in that upsettedness. But reality says that there's something going on with that person and they do not feel heard. No matter how they don't feel heard, how can you do something about that? So I know that there's lots of things that we can work on, but like the fun part is that we can work on them. And again, it's not just for business success. It's not just for the bottom line. Like, it's for us. Right. Like, that's exciting to me.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. And like, you have to look at it. If you're choosing to go this path, you're listening to this and you're like, well, that sounds really exciting. It can be. But you have to look at it as exciting every time. It can very quickly or easily get to a point of like, again. And that's okay. You'll have those moments where you're just like, okay, I just need a breath. And that happens with work. That happens with life in general, right?
Yeah.
It doubles the experience with your partner. It'll 100% double, triple, quintuple how you feel about that. So that's why it is good to take steps back. It is good to understand truly how, you view one another in certain moments. And it's like, hey, is this a good time for this? Mm-hmm. It's a learning process. It's a every freaking day learning process.
What's your favorite day?
Wednesdays.
No. Let me finish my question, man. There's a topic on the table.
I thought you were saying Wednesday. Wednesday is my favorite day.
You just said that yesterday because yesterday was Wednesday. I was like, okay,
Hence
Wednesdays aren't my favorite day, but okay.
I love hump day.
What's your favorite day you can remember from our history of working together and being a couple? What's your favorite day?
Is there a right or wrong answer here?
No.
Oh, I was
No,
like,
it's your
I didn't know she was looking for.
It's your favorite. What are you not picking up about this?
Oh man.
I'll tell you. My favorite.
Okay.
No, yeah, I'll share my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite was when I did my first Creative Live presentation.
Oh, that was fun.
That was fun because we got to go and do this really high production style speech. Essentially, it was my class. Like, it was my class. It was in like 8 hours of like live audience and training. And it was an opportunity to, not take something that was my little spotlight, but like spread the love a little bit. And you got to come up and do a segment with me. Even Blake, who had been on the team for like a week or something, came up and did a segment with me. Like
4 days like that.
And then it was such a huge success. We had so much fun with the team, and we just got to party. And were we in San Francisco? We were in San Francisco. So
yep. And then we went to Vegas after that.
Obviously, anything personal we do together is like in my heart, but when it comes to being partners and the pros of that and the benefits that can happen, that one's pretty top for me. What about you?
I gotta say it's kind of dumb, but the first client project we got when we started Aftermark.
Oh God.
Technically the second, but the first that we had to like shoot.
Which one?
Actually, we had to shoot both of them.
Yeah.
The first one with the biggest client we have.
Yeah.
Where we flew out to San Jose again. Weirdly, the Bay Area is like.
Listen, the West Coast is just like ahead of the game.
Yeah,
they
but
know.
We're not even necessarily big fans of the Bay Area in general.
No, we are not. But they have brought us a lot of business, so it's fine.
So we go out there, and we were supposed to film. I think we were supposed to film like 4 or 5 different things, and we were like, all right, we're gonna do this, and it ended up getting cut down to just 2. Which we're now in retrospect, I'm like, thank goodness. But it's me and Amy in a car driving around with our client, two of the reps from our clients, and there was a lot of confusion. Like we had, I think I told this story somewhat in a different episode, but like we had no idea what we were doing, and we
didn't tell anybody we didn't know what we were doing, though.
Oh, no, of course. we didn't know what we were doing. This is 2016. We had just
we were trying to
started
figure
doing
out
business together.
Yeah, we knew what we wanted the business to be, but we weren't sure how it was going to take shape yet. So our first clients were really pivotal in shaping that.
But I know it's hard to paint the picture for everybody else, but for me, it's like a memory in my head where it's like we're working together. I'm like. We weren't engaged yet or anything. And we were doing something that was totally out of both of our comfort zones.
Yes, it was considered high production.
It was not high production.
It was supposed to be.
Oh yes. No, it was not supposed to. It was whatever. It doesn't matter. It was higher production, and we did like. There's some cool stuff that we did that I still look back and I'm like, oh, that was a cool shot.
I'm still very proud of it. Yeah.
But not having lighting in certain rooms, then we're like. Whatever.
Did you turn the second audio recorder on?
Oh my God.
He was like, no, let's just pretend like we need to get the shot again. You know what? Sometimes these are the things you have to do.
There was quite a bit of that.
There's so much more room for error when you're a couple doing this together.
But all I can think of is just going back and forth with you. And then like we'd get back to the hotel room because we were there for a week. And we'd get back to the hotel room at the end of the day shooting something. We'd be like, okay, do we have everything? All right, let's go through all the files. All right, do we have the audio? Do we have the...
Back it up. Back up the files. Back up the files.
I mean, it was just like,
That was not
it.
my favorite because that was so...
It was my favorite now. It was not my favorite then. It
was stressful.
It's my favorite now because I can look back at it and say, that was the start of something.
It sure was.
Like it really was.
And by the way, that was the beginning of a lot. And the amount of work we were getting and how... Well, yes, you also proposed to me, but like... That client has been a great client for us, and we've done a lot of work with them. And just the relationships that we built because we took a chance on it. We knew we could get the job done, but we really had to get in there and get our hands dirty.
It was also the single biggest paycheck that either of us had ever gotten in one spot, in one shot, on a project. So we were like, cool, multi-billion-dollar multinational company, and it's just me and Amy. Cool. Like we didn't even, I'm looking in this room right now. We've got Pelican cases and stuff like that. Like we tried, like
back then that was
tripods.
A big deal.
Like we didn't even have that stuff.
We were like, wait, we're going to go get a real camera box to ship this in?
We didn't.
I know. It took time to build this up.
We had 2 cameras that were my personal cameras.
Yeah.
And yes, I know. We're trying to wrap up this episode. I get it. I understand.
That was subtle, Vin. Thank you.
But I have to think about this for a second. And it was just, I mean, it kind of is the beginning of what is now. So, yeah, that's my favorite.
Anyway, I just think that would be a good way to end, just talking about pros. You don't know what the pros are going to be until you live them, honestly.
No, I agree.
But focus on them. And don't get complacent and think that every time you get a win that's it, because you're going to have to keep going and keep working together.
Yep.
But do celebrate those wins for the moment that you get them, because you have each other throughout it, and that really is the biggest
win.
win.
We go together like... Oh God. Grease. Got it.
Singing in every episode.
So, get over it. Get over it. Make sure you go smash the like button or whatever.
I don't think that's how it works.
Yes,
here.
if they're watching it on YouTube, they have to smash the like button.
Okay, fine. Well, podcast listeners can go give us their true and honest review, which, by the way, we have seen your reviews coming in. We're going to start reading them, I think, very soon.
Oh, and by the way, if they're not 5 stars, I'm going to read them on air.
There have been a lot of 5 stars, and I think it's because everyone's threatened by Vincenzo.
Perfect. We'll see you on the next one.